Recording.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to Sham and COVY'S Emporium of Awesome. My name is Sean.
My name is Corey, and today we are continuing our retrospective Marvel Cinematic Universe series, where we're going through and reviewing all of the original up to the end game, end of Phase 3, in order of release. So we've done all the previous videos, with the exception of the Incredible Hulk. And now we're moving on to the big end of Phase 1 movie that kind of kicked off the whole thing, and in real style is the Avengers.
Yeah.
So here we are, the Avengers. We've rewatched it. We've seen 4 Avengers movies now. This is the original. What do you
It's
think?
been a while since I've seen this one. I haven't watched this one in a long time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's been a couple of years since I actually sat down and watched this.
Yeah. Like I said, I've seen lots of other ones. This one just hasn't either been on TV or whatever. So, yeah. It was nice to go back on stuff and rewatch it again since it was so big and so like that when it first came out. Like, it was so big.
Yeah, yeah,
Like saying we've never seen off of movies like this and stuff like that with movies leading up to an actual big movie and they're all in it and all that stuff, right?
yeah. Obviously, all the huge stars from all the individual movies. The star power is tremendous, and
Mhm.
so how does it hold up? What do you think?
It's still really good.
Yeah,
Like, so there's different things, stuff that I've noticed in it, but like I saying, it's still really good. It's still a really good movie and stuff like that altogether. Because it's a really good introduction on stuff for like the Hulk, stuff character and stuff in it. Like I think they do him really well in it, and they show that the team dynamic is perfect. Yeah,
yeah,
right. Like it shows that you can have all these characters and stuff in one movie and it's okay. It still works.
yeah. And that was the big concern, is everyone gonna get enough screen time? Are they gonna mesh well? And yeah, even though this is the first movie where a lot of these actors are together, it
Yeah.
on rewatching it, yeah, it's like, even going back, like you'd I was actually expecting, before I went and sat down and rewatched it, that I'd be like, you know what? They're not gonna have that. It's not gonna feel the same. Like when I first watched it, it melted my face because it was amazing and blew me away because of the whole novelty of the thing. I was
Yeah.
like, well, rewatching it, I've seen Endgame. Come on, like how can this possibly stack up? But yeah, they nailed it, and I actually, I don't know if I'm gonna say, because the hype wasn't there, that I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as the first time, because the first time was just
Yeah,
great.
like I said, a lot of these ones on stuff have the nostalgia on stuff being the first on stuff, right? Like Iron Man 1 and different things like that. They have that of being the first time watching it and seeing this type of thing. So to that extent, no, it's not as melt your face and stuff like that as it was the first time. Like I
Yeah,
said, there's just no way it could be. Stuff with the content that's out now, right? Like stuff when you compare it on stuff to like Endgame and things like that on stuff, just stuff that they put in Endgame now and more characters on stuff. It's just no way that it could. But looking back on it, also, you can still appreciate what it was and what it still is, and that it still holds up as a big stuff movie for Marvel and things, right?
yeah, and obviously, you know, uh, coming off of the Iron Man movies that we just recently watched, it actually gave me, because the first time I watched Avengers, I didn't go back and rewatch Iron Man 1 and 2 beforehand.
Yeah.
So the Iron
Mhm.
Man stuff was just like fresh in my mind and everything, and I was like, yeah, I loved how they did it. I loved the Science Bro stuff. It still held up. Yeah, Mark Ruffalo introduction to the Hulk. Like, in all honesty, I didn't even consider. I'm like, I don't really know what's going on with the Hulk. Like, yeah, they introduced him great, like you said, and I actually appreciated it. I'm like, you know what, it's fine. They recast him, it's fine, and
Yeah.
it all worked out. The Loki stuff, obviously coming off of watching the Loki series, which I won't do any spoilers for that here. It's not what this is for, but made me appreciate the Loki scenes, and then of course watching the recent Black Widow that came out made me really appreciate the Black Widow scenes in this upon rewatching and stuff. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like,
It gives you more it gives you more context of the character. They were able to flush out more longer on and stuff like that on stuff, which is the missing pieces that they were kind of hinting at on stuff throughout these ones on stuff with the characters mentioning on stuff, things with Black Widow in her past and things with her like Hawkeye talking about certain things on stuff, and now things get filled in. You're like, oh, that's exactly what she meant, which is cool.
yeah, it almost makes the and I'm sure they did this on purpose when they were
Of course
making
it.
the later movies, but like all those they kind of retroactively set up things, like at the time it might have just been throwaway lines, but now that they've actually taken those throwaway lines and they took the time to build those bits and bobs into the future movies, upon
Yeah.
rewatching it, it makes it just feel like it's so much more of a part of this multi-phase saga that
Mhm.
it's like, wow, how smart were they to have him say that? At the time they
Right.
probably did. You didn't think that. So, in one respect, yeah, it made me almost enjoy it more knowing where things were gonna go.
And that's the thing. They're going to be doing that. They do that. I'm sure it's going to be like that all the way through it, right? Yeah, that's because it's Marvel and stuff. They put things in there and stuff on purpose. Because eventually somebody said, okay, we're going to put this in here, and sometime down the road, we're going to do this and whatever and stuff, right? We're going to go back on stuff and do that on stuff and elaborate more, which is awesome. Because when you're watching the movie and they do mention those things, you're like, ooh, I wonder when that's going to come up. Now, is it going to come up in a movie? Is it going to come up in a TV series on stuff now, right? Like, they can do whatever they want wherever, and they're probably going to, which is great.
Yeah. Um. And what do you think about like do the battles and the special effects and everything still hold up?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think they do. I think all the battles and stuff like that, the action is still great. The interaction on stuff with the characters in the battles on stuff were great. Like I felt like the what was that?
There's your cat.
What about that? I think it was a key. Stuff, yeah, like I said, it felt on stuff like it was a big deal and stuff like that. Like there was consequences of what was going on, and that it was, yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. Me too. And as far as how does it fit into the Infinity Saga, like obviously you can't watch the Infinity Saga and skip this movie. Like obviously that's not going to be the case. It's our first introduction to Thanos. It's our first introduction to the concept of that whole thing. We didn't know the first time around that they were going to introduce Thanos. Like it wasn't, you know. But
Yeah,
now it's like we know that how this sets up the whole saga and what the Tesseract actually is and everything. So rewatching it, it's like, oh yeah, like this is it's all great.
yeah, there's lots of stuff in this, and it affects like later movies too, and things like that. And so how characters are and so like that, like with how it affects Tony Stark and stuff like that later on, and they reference lots of things happening also because of what they went through with the whole thing on stuff, right? But so yeah, this was just another big stepping stone on stuff of ways to go farther
Yeah.
where they were
Well,
going.
the one thing that I think didn't hold up was well for me, kind of on a
Mhm.
bit of a more of a negative. And I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I really, upon rewatching it, I really didn't get nearly the same impact with the Phil Coulson his death and sacrifice. Like this time around, like A, I knew it was coming this time, obviously, but
Yeah,
B, on top of that, the whole Agents of Shield TV show has all happened now since the first time I watched it, and I was just kind of
yeah,
like, well, I know he's not dead, and I know
yeah.
that they resurrect him, and he's in the series and all of this, and I don't know, just that whole thing with him in this movie. I don't know. It just didn't seem to stand up as well for me. I don't know. Maybe it was
Yeah,
just
like, and I think it's because it was, you know what's coming on stuff, right? It's like you know he's gonna get killed and stuff like that and sacrificed and blah 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 and that, and before he was a constant in like all the movies, like he was there and stuff like that in different parts and things like that, right? So him, which are getting killed on stuff, was a big deal on stuff at the time on stuff, right? Because not very many characters actually died
yeah,
and things, right? On stuff, and that one died. He died on stuff, and Dick is saying he'd been there since the beginning, type of thing, and stuff like that. But I understand what you mean on stuff about it. Yeah. One thing I didn't like about it and stuff was um the introduction of Hawkeye. I but rewatching it and stuff, I think they really dropped the ball and stuff like that on putting him like in his first movie. Like for the first half or however 3/4 of the movie, he was a bad guy.
yeah,
Like he was working on like I understand what they were going with it and things like that, but I felt that was a really poor way to introduce his character into it, into like the group and things. Stuff I don't know. Yeah, I just looking at him, I'm like that was a real waste of him. He didn't really do anything. He was just on Loki's side. He was doing all these things, and that I didn't like a lot of stuff that introduction also for him. Like, 'cause I know everybody. It's always like a side character to everything, but I like Jeremy Renner's and stuff like that, like how he takes the character and things like that. Like I'm looking forward to the series of Hawkeye and finding out more about him. I think that series and all that stuff will make me appreciate his character even more. type of thing on stuff, right? Like you find out more stuff about his character. He's not just a guy with a bow with a bunch of people with superpowers, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree actually. Now you said I didn't really think about it, but yeah, you're right. I think they could have done better with Hawkeye, just in general in this movie, like compared to what he did in the movie overall, even compared to what like Black Widow did. Both
yeah,
non-powered, but I feel like Black Widow, the way they introduced her in the movie and then had her interacting with the Hulk and then had her with the staff at the end, and she was in a lot of the fight scenes a lot more. And Hawkeye, I felt like even in the final battle, he's like hanging out on top of a rooftop, just kind of sniping guys away, and like
yeah, like I said,
I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, the Hawkeye
I
was
like,
underwhelming on rewatching. You're right.
yeah, like I said, I liked him in the battle and things like that, but I felt like I say, at least with Black Widow, she was introduced a little bit and so like that in other movies. Like Hawkeye was on stuff in the one Thor movie, but that was a
It was almost
blowaway on.
just a
It
cameo.
was not,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't really. It was just him there. He didn't do anything so like that. Whereas Black Widow was there and also in the Iron Man movies and things like that and stuff. So like I said, it wasn't just thrown in. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That was weird. No, that's what I felt for that. But
Yeah.
what else is like that? I didn't find the jokes as funny rewatching it. Like
Hmm.
as I remember watching it the first time, I remember the jokes. They all landed the first time I watched it and so like that. Like I remember laughing at like everything. It's still a lot of them still were funny, but they were just like, oh yeah, just kind of that's
Yeah, it was
funny.
kind of like you smile and move on, kind of.
Yeah, like saying it still has some really big ones and stuff like that. Like with certain things that were really like laugh out loud fighting on and stuff, but I didn't find it as funny as the first time.
Yeah.
So I remember
Well, like when Hulk grabs Loki and smashes him around, that still made me laugh.
great.
I loved it. Even watching, I knew it was coming. I knew it was gonna happen. I was waiting
You
for it, and I was like, yeah, I couldn't help it. It was awesome.
yeah, like Hulk punching on stuff, Thor after they battle and stuff like that on stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Coulson and stuff like that, like shooting off Loki with the gun and stuff like
Actually,
that. So
that's a good point. I had forgot that even happened. I knew he got stabbed and everything and died in that scene, but I forgot that he shot him with the gun when he was like,
yeah,
come closer," kind of. It was kind of like this fake out and then blasted him. I was like,
so
yes, okay, that was pretty awesome. So good
like
job.
that's what that does because he didn't. He was like, I don't even know what this does. Oh, that's what that does. I thought certain ones on stuff like that, like they still make me laugh a lot. But like I
Yeah.
said, all the other little jokes and stuff like that, they were like, yeah, they were funny, but now re-seeing it now and so like that, not for the first time, I was like, okay, so I noticed that.
Yeah, and the whole thing earlier on in the movie when Loki, I maybe on rewatching it, I was just kind of like, I feel like maybe they didn't really do a very good explanation, but I didn't really question it the first time around. But this time when I'm watching it, knowing what I know about Thanos and what I know about like Loki and all these other things that have come out since, this time when I watched it, I was kind of like even almost slightly confused at the beginning. I'm like, wait, did they actually explain why Loki's doing this or where he came
See,
from or what happened? They
yeah,
don't. They kind of glossed over that, and I didn't
like I
realize
said,
that the first time around.
yeah, that's at the beginning. That Loki didn't seem like Loki at the beginning of the movie, like until up to like the museum part. Like I get he was like working with Thanos and things like that, and he was just kind of like brought back and things like that. But he didn't really seem like Loki himself until the museum. Once he was at the museum and stuff, from then on, it was awesome. He was amazing and so like that. He felt like the Loki character after that and all that stuff, right? So
Yeah, like when he's at the museum and his line, he said some line that he repeats in the series or whatever. He says he's like burdened with glorious purpose. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. But before that, I was just kind of, they kind of just kind of like hand waved how he got back and what he's doing, and then he became like Loki, and I was like, okay, this is good. But that beginning bit was just kind of clunky on
yeah,
rewatching.
yeah, I
And
felt
also, what a missed opportunity. I mean, I know they didn't know at the time, but man, the entire time I was watching when Loki was interacting with like Thanos' like goon and
mm-hmm.
talking to him, and he was like, "Oh, you threatened me." You know, they were kind of having that little thing where he's like, where he's talking to him. Like, how awesome would it have been if they had made that guy be the guy from Infinity War? You know, one of his lieutenants, like the Prophet guy, the telekinetic guy. If
Oh
they had
yeah,
made that guy him, but of course they didn't. He was just some random stooge guy, right? But I was like, oh man, if they had only had the foresight to include
yeah,
that
as his
as as the guy
He's
who
like,
Loki was talking to and giving him the orders. Like that.
that'd be
The entire
cool.
time I'm watching, like it should be that guy. This should be
Not
that
just the,
guy.
yeah, it's just not like the Chitari leader guy or whatever he was and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been awesome. That would have been really cool. Just not left him as like an unnamed character and stuff like that. Just there, it just seems like on stuff like talking on stuff for Thanos. Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. So I saw that. I'm like, I'm kind of disappointed. It's just some random Chitari guy. But
But
anyways.
yeah, what's the name kills him later on anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. That's true. I guess yeah, they wouldn't have done that and brought him back. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Anyways,
that's a different story for the Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
yeah.
Yeah, villain.
Yeah. So
Um,
like all in all, yeah, I enjoyed it and also enjoyed it less for different reasons. But overall, definitely stands up for me. It still ranks up there. So far,
yeah,
it's my favorite rewatch of the series so
yep.
far.
Yep, I agree and so like that with it being which are the best movie out of the ones on stuff that we've seen. Even though I like the other ones on stuff probably more than I did initially, this one still just because of the way the dynamic that it was and what type of epic movie it is and stuff like that. Also, it has to be better. It has to be higher than those ones,
Yeah.
right? So
And well, I guess any other final thoughts on the Avengers?
I don't think so really. No, I think yeah, I think that's good for
Cool.
what I
Well,
thought about stuff for it because it was fun to rewatch it again.
well, we'll find out whether we get similar vibes from Phase Two as we head into the second Avengers movie. And go rewatching everything there. Whether or
Yeah,
not the same can be said. Will Age of Ultron also be the best Phase Two movie
well,
compared to Avengers in Phase One? I don't know. I'm
interesting.
I don't
There's
know.
a few
Iron
more.
Man 3, Thor 2, we got some interesting movies coming up. I'm really curious how we're going to review these.
That's
So,
the next one because the next one's Iron Man 3, and then the next one's Thor 2, I think, after that.
yeah, The Dark
Um,
World.
and those two on stuff, yeah, it'll be interesting to for those ones for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to those.
All right. Well, if you guys who are watching this, let us know what you thought. If you're watching these along with us, if you've rewatched Avengers recently, what did you think? Did it stand up for you? And uh, give us a like and comment below with that. Follow the video, and we will soon have an Iron Man 3 retrospective coming up.
It's true.
So thanks, and
Okay.
see ya.
Thank you.